Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Lupo with the New York State DEC. I'm a wildlife biologist. So I'm going to give you some background as far as the New York State. Otters are historically found in all watersheds of the state. And like many other species, they suffered declines due to habitat destruction, unregulated trapping, and water pollution. So the state started protections as early as 1936, which was followed by a 9-year moratorium on harvest. And then as late as 1990s, it was noticed that most of the otters were recolonizing most of upstate, but there was still a large vacancy in available habitat for western New York. So DEC and other agencies enlisted a trap and transfer and moved 279 otters into western New York. So at this point, fast forward to 2016, we collaborated with SUNY ESF, Jacqueline Ferrer's lab, to put together a survey to look at population trends across the state. With a focus on areas that were not currently open to harvest. Dr. Ferrer analyzed some of our historical data, which were primarily bridge surveys. Staff would go to a water crossing at a bridge, walk about a 200 to 4 meter length, and look for tracks, scat, or slides. So looking at that data, it left some vacancies. So we moved on to an occupancy style study. So across the state, mostly from the southern zone through Long Island, we broke up areas, our wildlife management units, into 16 by 16 kilometer squares. And the survey protocol required us to optimally look at 400 meter transects along a third margin, lake margins and third primary water bodies. So some pictures here are tracks in snow, if we were lucky enough to find a slide, and as Mike had mentioned before, scat. So our first year of our study, we got started a little late, but we were able to make 2 detections on Long Island, and we were pretty happy at that. And then this winter, we're in our second round of surveys with 5 detections out of 78 of the surveys that we went out and did. So given that, our field season will end at the end of this month. The data will go back up to ESF along with our GPS coordinates, our photos that were in proof of our sightings, and the occupancy model will be analyzed. So after the analyzation of the data, we will use that to write an otter management plan for the state. That's about it. Thank you.
All right, Mike, you want to come back up and we'll do questions. Anyone? Question? Or are they so good that they've answered them all?
Yeah. Did you have a photograph of the latrine? I don't think I remember you having the photograph of the latrine, so I could recognize one. I don't know exactly what it looks like.
On the lower left.
Okay, so what is it exactly then?
It depends on what the otter is eating. It's fish scales, like Mike said. If they're eating crayfish, there might be antenna in there as well. So, and sometimes depends on their habitat. If they're in some sort of a pond, they might eat frogs, and it might be more slimy. But it's more likely to be fish scales and antenna from.
So that's the scat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
The
latrine
latrine,
site.
I don't understand the difference then. I guess what's the difference between the latrine and the scat then?
Okay, so the latrine or a scent station, we don't know exactly what they're trying to communicate, but they're apparently communicating with one another. They have scent glands on the rear feet, and they do this stomping and leaving scent on the, usually they first do a scrape, they scrape the ground, and as they do that with the front feet, they stamp the rear feet and leave scent. The scat also might have some scent in it that they're communicating different things to other individuals. And there's another thing that I don't know if you found very often, that jelly-like secretion. There's an anal secretion that is also left at some latrine sites very infrequently. They also do rolls, and as you saw from one of the, when I was saying, you know, how do you find a latrine, there was a photo of an area that there's no understory vegetation. It's just bare ground. So they roll around, they really trample the area down. It's a small area. It's maybe 6 feet by 6 feet or 8 feet by 8 feet.
So the latrine is where they leave their scent
Yes.
and their scat?
And their scat.
Okay, so it's just basically a rectangular area?
Yep.
Or something? Okay.
Close to the water, yep.
Okay, thank you.
This is a question for either of you. At the Long Island Natural History Conference, say in 2050, what do you think will be the status of River Otter on the island? Do you think it's, I mean, the trend, do you think it's they're gonna, like with the Eagles, they're gonna start to really saturate the island, or,
Yeah,
or not?
I think so. The first, after I did the 2008 survey, we had a spate of roadkills up on the north shore of Nassau County. We had 4 roadkills over the course of about 3 or 4 weeks. And I thought that, geez, that's going to be a real problem in terms of recruitment. But that was kind of an aberration, I guess, because we haven't had a lot of roadkill since then, and we have a lot of really good habitat for otters here. And in reading the literature, apparently they can kind of tune into danger situations, and they somewhat change their activity patterns. There's no reason for them not to be more active during the daytime, but when they're close to people, they tend to be more nocturnal in their habits. And that seems to be enabling them to avoid motor collisions. So,
I feel that we'll definitely have growth, whether we are inundated.
Inundated, yeah, I don't know
I
what
don't
that
think
means.
that'll ever happen. Our development and our roads will probably keep that in some sort of a check.
oh, Tom.
I was wondering, we have a lot of muskrat on the South Shore and our area of Beaver Dam Creek, and I wonder what the relationship between the otters and the muskrats might be, and whether there's competition. Would they be keeping them out? What sort of relationship do they have?
Well, there's some reports of predation by otters on muskrat, but by and large, their diet is mostly fish and crab. So they coexist up in other parts of New York State where there's been otters for many, many years and muskrats for many, many years. So they're not going to exclude one another from an area.
So the baby otters, like that 5-month-old that was caught in the backyard, if you relocate it to a pond, will it have trouble surviving without the mother close by?
At that age, probably yes. It needs the mother to teach it how to survive in the wild.
Okay, thanks.